Check out this interesting piece of retro technology. This is from 2001. It's a Compaq Presario 5320. Specs are an Intel Pentium 4 processor running at 1.5 gigahertz. I'm not sure how much RAM this has installed in it, although it could go as high as 1.5 gig of RAM. I suspect it's got 512. We'll get it open and get some specs on it. The plan for this today is do a quick tour of the inside of it. I've already cleaned it. We'll show you the specs of it, and then I'd like to get Windows XP on it, and then in keeping with our Netware trend, what we'll do is we'll get our Netware Client installed on it. Should be a bit easier considering it does have USB support and CD support, obviously, and this is kind of cool. So we've got our Compaq driver CD and quick start guide plus a Windows XP disk. So let's get it open and take a look around. Alright, so we're taking a look at the back of the PC. You can see that it's got two PS2 ports, serial, parallel, another serial port. It does have a 10100 NIC, our sound cards, two rear USB ports, and then over here we've got our NVIDIA Vantech graphics card and a 56K modem, which should come in handy. Maybe we can get it connected to a BBS just like we did our friend the IBM down there. Let's get it opened up and we'll take a look at the inside. So the cool thing about this computer is it has a way of simply pushing down on this and opening up the side of it where we can look inside. It's fairly clean. It is missing a hard drive, but I've got a newer 250 gig SATA drive that we're going to put in it. It's a Seagate drive, and it is SATA, of course, but what I've done is I've got an adapter up here that we can convert IDE to SATA. Couple of cool things in it. It's got an NVIDIA graphics card in it, obviously a Pentium 4 processor, and it has a modem, so we'll take a look at that. I know that the network card is an onboard 10100 NIC, so should be adequate enough to get it hooked up to our Netware server and get things running on it. Alright, through the magic of the internet, we're where we need to be. Hey, that's a good sign it finds the hard drive. Sure, I agree. Do I have a choice? Probably. But for our future endeavors of Netware, we definitely need to go with Windows. Oh, so there is already, that's interesting. No, we don't want to repair it. You know, I pulled this drive out of storage, so I couldn't tell you exactly what was on it. But let's delete that one. Yes. L. I have no idea what that is. So we'll delete that one. L. And yeah, let's delete that one. L. That looks good. We'll just do an install. Let's do quick. I could have cheated and put an SSD in here, but I thought I've got a fairly decent SATA drive, I think. I mean, it's older, but I don't think it's terribly old. And, you know, let's make this as period correct as possible. So it looks like we're going to copy some files over, and when we come back, we should have an XP install. Alright, so Windows XP is installed. We can see that it is actually a 1.59 gigahertz, so we'll go ahead and call it 1.6 gigahertz. And a whopping 512 meg of RAM, so I'm guessing each one of those sticks is 256 meg. I've got Service Pack 3 installed, and I went ahead and put the Compaq CD in, and just to see what it's got. Really, I don't see any kind of extra drivers or anything on it, and Windows seems to be relatively happy with everything that's installed. So yeah, nothing big to look at here. Let's take a look at our device manager to see. Okay, so it doesn't know what the modem is, so we'll deal with that later. For the purposes of this video, we really just care about Netware anyway. That'll be our connection to the world. If I want to do a modem, I've got an external US robotics modem that I can connect to it anyway. But just, I remember when PCs came with this kind of stuff, and it's just really awesome to see this HTML driven thing with all these kind of cool images that go with it. Really neat stuff on here. Maintenance and service guides on the CD. Oh, actually, no, they're trying to take us to a website that is definitely not going to exist anymore. Let's see if it forwards over to HP. It's trying to open something. I don't think it's going to go. A, because we're on standard HTTP. B, it's Internet Explorer 6. So that's long since deprecated. And yeah, definitely not going to work. And I'm sure the Compaq.com webpage definitely doesn't exist. It's most likely HP at this point. And with that, even, who knows if the redirect would work. So enough poking around at that. The real plan here is to get Netware installed and get us connected to our Netware server. So that's what we're going to do. All right, so what I did is I've got our Netware Client version 4.91. This one is for Windows 2003, XP, 2008, etc. So first thing it does when it installs is to a local place on the hard drive, so we'll let that go ahead and run. I've got my Netware server up and running, so we should be able to connect into it. I'm logged in locally as myself. This same username matches on the Netware server as well, and also includes my same password, so it should just magically work. There is some linking we have to do on the client, which you'll see that here in just a minute. All right, so just about 2,000 files exported. Go ahead and close. Sure, I agree. We'll just do the typical installation. It should basically discover the network card. Looks like it's copying some files over to System 32. So one thing about Netware is it adds a lot of its obvious proprietary stuff that it needs to connect into the Netware server. The cool thing about the Netware client is you get a lot of remote administration tools for the server. And one thing that they did with later versions of Netware server is they started to kind of favor more remote administration, from what I remember, versus having to log into the console and do everything directly that way. So that was a nice feature that Novell installed later on down the line. So we'll see what we get going here. Okay, now we'll reboot, which means that the computer is going to come offline and I'll lose my remote desktop session, so I'll be right back. So after a 30-minute rabbit hole of trying to get it to communicate, I ended up going down and getting Wireshark installed. I had to find a pretty old version of it. I think it's version 0.99. Yeah, 0.99.8. Just to see if we were even communicating anywhere. And I will tell you, on this older version of Wireshark, the filtering is a bit wonky. So I'll just scroll all the way down here. What I was seeing was just the Netware server broadcasting out on its IEEE 802.3, and I could see that, so I knew that we were seeing network traffic, but for whatever reason, I couldn't get the tree or the network server to show up on the workstation. I rebooted it a fourth time and tried it again. And so you can see this traffic in here. Once the Netware login starts, you start to see this Novell directory services traffic going over the network as it makes its connections and establishes everything. Again, I didn't do anything other than 4 different reboots, and it magically works, and we have our Netware drives mapped. So from here, just like on the NT machine, we see that we've got our sys volume, which is what this one is. Again, contains our mail if we were to be running the Novell mail server, which is group-wise. We've got our public directory that exists here, and just any kind of login scripts or anything that runs in this one. So we'll go back to public. Since we're running Windows XP, which is 32-bit, I can go ahead and go to the Win32 folder, and this is going to be any kind of driver libraries that it needs, but we've got in here our Netware admin tools that will load, and it's a little bit more modern looking than the Windows NT version. Let's see what version we've got. So 4.91.5, copyright 91 to 1998, so this is the 1998 version. You can see here we're running a little bit older of a version, and even though I'm running Windows XP, it will do backwards compatibility to this. It is possible for me to upgrade and get a newer version of this, and I think I would still get the backwards compatibility to the Windows NT version. The only thing that makes me nervous about that is I have to do more upgrades to Netware first before we can move forward, and let me show you what I mean by that. So back on my Netware server, you can see that I've got Support Pack 6 installed, and if I go, that puts me somewhere around 1998 based on what I'm seeing on the 4.11 site here. Again, I'm running Novell version 4.2. These all kind of came out around the same time, so there's little differences between the two. It's mostly a bunch of service pack updates from what I can tell. The newest version from year 2000 would be for 4.11 or 4.2, and it's Support Pack 9. This has a lot of fixes in it that would make me more comfortable to update my client. Another issue that we are running into is that I am using, I have not installed the multi-CPU option, so that's an additional license pack. You know, honestly, this is probably why Novell kind of faded off. They had a lot of licensing requirements, and Microsoft really made it easier on the end users. I don't know if it was necessarily cheaper, but it made it easier than what Novell did. Novell tried to correct that in version 5 and 6, but unfortunately at that point I think it was too little too late. But anyway, in order for me to utilize the 2 CPU sockets that I'm sending its way, and I've got them virtualized as a Pentium 2, I have to install that multi-CPU. You can see the CPU is basically pegged for the most part, and it's only able to use that one CPU. So it's making the applications a bit slow, especially when I have to download them from the server, which anything you're running off of this drive out here, it's going to run it from the server. So when I open these applications, it pegs it at 100%. And we can see it do that when we go back here to the Netware monitor. You can see that it's going anywhere from 0% up to 84%. I've seen it go as high as 100% when these are opening. And so that's what we're seeing. And I think, again, patches will help with that, some more licensing, and just more resources in general for the server. But we do have a successful connection, which is what I was looking for, and we're able to go in and use the tools. Since I'm not logged in as the admin user, I don't have much ability in here, but at least we can test that it's working. I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a fun time doing it, getting Windows XP installed, getting the machine cleaned, taking a tour of it. And yeah, the Netware client was kind of fun to install, but frustrating at the same time. What's more frustrating to me is that I don't know why it all of a sudden magically just started working. But I guess in the end run, it's good that it did work. Ideally, what I'll like to do in future videos is get the Netware server up and patched. That might have something to do with it. I know that there are several patches that Netware did to their IP stack and to allow the clients to communicate better. There is a Y2K patch that still needs done, and clearly I need to do some performance tuning on the Netware server, so I'll do that in a future video as well. There's some other things we can do with Novell GroupWise, which was their messaging client, and it allowed email as well, so I'd like to kind of investigate that in a future video. Leave a comment if there's some other things you'd like to see, or if you have questions on what I did today. And I ask that you please leave a like and share the video if you think there's anyone else who might be interested in this topic. And I hope to catch you in a future video.